First off, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. As someone astutely pointed out, there's a little bit of tap water in my water bottle right here. I carry this around with me everywhere I go. It's a constant reminder of, one, how blessed we are to have tap water here in the U.S. and how we take it for granted all too often. And two, how easy it is to get it. And we don't even need to go buy bottled water because we have tap water right at our fingertips for 2/100ths of the cost of bottled water. So just consider that when you drink your water on a daily basis. So first off, I want to also thank a couple people for making this opportunity happen. First, I want to give a shout out to Nick for taking this opportunity to film and record me speak and share my testimony about Vera Aqua Vera Vita. I also want to thank Alberto Montoya, if you could stand up real quick, man. He has just been just a utter blessing to have as a project partner on this first project we're working on in Monte Castillo, Peru. It is true what they say, that we are better together, and we can't do it on our own. And Alberto is a living testimony of the success of when you partner with somebody that has a passion, that cares about people, and has a skill set like he has. He's a doctor, so he knows health and wellness issues, but he's also Peruvian himself. And so he's fluent in Spanish and in English, so he's been absolutely pivotal in helping us advance our mission in our project in Peru. So this, if we could just give a round of applause for Alberto. And then just another quick shout out to my beautiful girlfriend. So thank you, Fernanda, for making this opportunity happen. So I'm very happy to be here, first and foremost. I've only had a couple opportunities to speak in front of groups of this size. So bear with me if I make a few mistakes. I'm learning. I'm not unaccustomed to public speaking, but I'm developing my ability to speak specifically about what we're doing with Vera Aqua Vera Vita in a public setting. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So my name, like I said, like it's already been introduced, is Jacob Niemeyer. I'm a professional engineer. I'm originally from Indiana. So I also have a slideshow over here. You can watch me, you can watch the slideshow, bounce back and forth. So a little bit about my story. I'm grown up, born, raised Catholic. I'm very passionate about my faith and about Jesus Christ. I'm also very passionate about this mission that we have in Scripture, where Christ says that we are called to serve the least of these. And it's really been that drive and that passion, that foundation from born and raised Catholic to that inspiration from Scripture that has led me to advance my passion in a number of spheres. One, I was exposed to the global water crisis while I was a student at Purdue University. I got my undergraduate degree in agricultural and biological engineering with a focus on water resources from Purdue University and graduated in 2012. And while there I was exposed to the global water crisis in my department. I was very focused on the world's biggest issues. I also had an opportunity to learn about water and wastewater engineering and go deeper into the technical side of that. And that was really cool because I'm a nerd, and I like solving problems, and I like using math to do that. And it's cool to do that for something as critical and as basic as water and sanitation is to life. I mean, water is simply fundamental to life. We cannot live more than 2 days, 3 days without water to drink. So just consider that, how fundamental that is. So a little bit of my experience that really has advanced me to where I am today and starting Vera Aqua Vera Vita. So I've been on a number of mission trips. In 2010, I went to Haiti a year after the earthquake to witness firsthand severe poverty. That was the first time I had been ever exposed to that level of just brokenness. I mean, I saw people living in UN tents, blue UN tents, for as far as the eye could see. The city of Port-au-Prince was in ruins. It was eye-opening. That was my junior year of college. And coming home from that trip, the Lord really spoke into my heart. He said, Jacob, I want you to do something about this. You're learning about water and wastewater engineering in school. You've already been exposed to some of these global water issues and global water crisis problems in your classes. Now you've seen it firsthand. Do something about it. And so that subsequent summer, I got in a group with a team to apply for a research grant. We went to Togo, Africa for 3 weeks and did a water research project. And that was kind of to advance this placing on my heart that God had made to do work in this sphere. And I had an opportunity to see that that is really where God was calling me. And then so subsequently, I've been on a number of mission trips. I've been to Jamaica in 2013. I also went to Ethiopia to visit a well that I had helped my company fund in 2015. And in 2016, and then just last year, I went to Monte Castillo, Peru. And that's where actually the location of our first project is, which I'll talk a little bit more about here in a minute. Just a little bit of background on my technical experience. I just got my professional engineering license about a year ago. I have about 5.5 years of engineering consulting experience with a company called Stantec. I've heavily focused on hydrology and hydraulics and water and wastewater conveyance. Modeling and master planning are my pretty predominant experience records. I also have a number of business acumen experience as well. I have an entrepreneurial certificate from SMU. And I also took an entrepreneurship class at Purdue while I was there as an undergrad. And then I've also had an opportunity to be involved in a number of project management, construction management experiences as well while working at Stantec. So the calling, you know, I mentioned it. I went to Haiti. God said, hey, Jacob, I want you to do something about this. And frankly, like, I was kind of overwhelmed. I was like, Lord, what? I'm just like one man. How can I do anything? And coming back to that, every time I revisit that memory and that experience of God telling me this, I get new insight. And the insight that I'm getting right now is that, like, God wants me and wants all of us to trust in Him. Like, we are so much more capable than we can possibly realize. And that's the calling that God's given me to start a nonprofit. Right? And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, God gave me this mission, and now we're doing it. We're bringing clean water to people around the world. And so that's what led me to start True Water, True Life, which is the Latin version is Vera Aqua Vera Vita. So in case y'all were wondering what Vera Aqua Vera Vita meant, it's Latin for True Water, True Life. So the global water crisis is a global crisis. This is just a map of the heavily stressed areas in the world that are experiencing severe drought or water restrictions. You can see some of these areas are even in the U.S. in the Southwest and Mexico, along the coast of the western coast of South America, Sub-Saharan Africa, Central Asia, and Middle East. So just something that really drove home for me how important the global water crisis issue is 11 facts. So in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, I'm going to rattle off 11 facts. And I ask you to please consider all of these facts and take them to heart. First, the global water crisis is the #1 global risk based on impact to society, and the #8 global risk based on likelihood of occurring within the next 10 years. Second, by 2025, an estimated 1.8 billion people will live in areas plagued by water scarcity, with 2/3 of the world's population living in water-stressed regions. 1.7 billion people live in areas where groundwater is being extracted faster than it is being replenished. 750 million people, roughly, in the world do not have access to safe water. That's 1/10 of the world's population. 2.5 billion people do not have access to proper sanitation. We're talking a flushing toilet. These people are open defecating. 443 million school days are lost each year due to water-related diseases. And that impacts the kids. And it's cool that we have a couple kids here this evening. They're the ones that are being affected in developing countries by this water crisis. $260 billion is lost each year globally due to lack of adequate water supply and sanitation. Diarrhea caused by inadequate water, sanitation, and hand hygiene kills an estimated 842,000 people every year globally, or approximately 2,300 people every day. Worldwide, 1 out of every 5 deaths of children under 5 is due to a water-related disease. Today, 1 child dies from a water-related disease every 90 seconds. Diarrhea kills children at a rate equivalent to a jumbo jet crashing every 10 hours, and everybody on the plane died. In 3 minutes, I rattled off 11 stats. In that time, 2 children have died from a waterborne illness somewhere in the world. That's just not acceptable. And that's what we're about at Vera Aqua Vera Vita. Our mission is to tap into the physical and spiritual nature of water to empower people and communities in need in developing countries to generate clean water and sanitation solutions that bring true water, true life. Yeah, we used our name in our mission statement. Kind of cool. We also want to highlight what's really important is that we empower people. Keyword empower. We are different in what matters. We empower in 3 ways. We empower by acknowledging the dignity of the person, by not giving a hand out but a hand up, and by teaching them how to fish, not just giving them fish. And we are different in a second way, in that we have a holistic approach. We believe that we are incarnate body and soul, that the body and the soul are not 2 distinct things, but they are one. And as long as we can nourish the body and the spirit at the same time, then we can truly help somebody go from just surviving to thriving. We also have a belief in the triple bottom line. This is an engineering term, environmental engineering term, where the economy, the environment, and the people are all held in balance and check. One cannot be forsaken for another because they all depend on each other. Finally, we have an approach that we believe is fundamental, and that's the idea of Catholic social teaching. 2 key components to that: solidarity with our brothers and sisters in these developing countries and those that we're serving, and subsidiarity, circling back to empowering. Subsidiarity is this idea that what can be done at the most basic level of governance or operation should be done at the most basic level of governance or operation. Example, a family should take care of their kids because they can, not the government. They don't need to do that. That's the family. That's the most basic, lowest level of governance, so to speak, that can handle that. We believe that that's key to everything that we're doing with our mission. So we have some scriptural inspiration. I won't read all of these. I'll just highlight them, but you can read them if you want. The biggest one to me is John 4:10. When Jesus says to the woman at the well, if you knew the gift that God has for you, and who it is who asks you for a drink, you would have asked me. I would have given you living water. Just let that sink in, because that's something that you don't hear often in this sphere. You all may have heard of other nonprofits in the water and wastewater sphere. You may have heard of Catholic charities and other organizations like that, and they're doing great things, don't get me wrong. But there aren't any organizations in this sphere, WASH is the term, water and sanitation hygiene sphere of work, that are doing it in a way that is water and sanitation focused, that's empowering people and putting Jesus Christ and the good news of the gospel first and foremost. So we have 3 programs at Vera Aqua Vera Vita. We have our WASH Community Development Program. We have strategic partnerships. We administer assessment surveys, which Alberta was fundamental in being a part of for our Monte Castillo water project, which is key to getting our data, to making sure that we're understanding the community and that they're invested and engaged from the beginning. And then finally we have our engineering solution implementation. Our second program is our education program, which has two subcomponents. We have our WASH community development program. That's where we administer a 3 or 4 day workshop in these communities that teaches the less fortunate in these communities about basic water, sanitation, hygiene issues that frankly we kind of don't understand, that people wouldn't understand that. Like we think, well, I wash my hands. Well, sometimes in developing countries, these people don't even know why they should wash their hands, or even that they should do that. So that's something that it's very pivotal. We gotta get empowering. We gotta empower these people through knowledge and education. And then our second subcomponent of our education program is theology of the body. This is where we bring in the good news of the gospel and integrate that in with the work that we're doing. We go back to this idea that the body and the soul are not distinct. They are one. And when we nourish the spirit, when we drink to the spirit and to the body, that's when a person's going to be able to truly thrive. And finally, we have our third program, is our missionary program, which has two subcomponents, domestic and global. Global is very clear, opportunities to go abroad. I mean, you all have heard about missionary opportunities all over the place, right? Domestically, that's unique. What is that? Like, you're all domestic missionary. Well, what we mean by that is we want to create a culture of domestic missionaries. I.e., say Yvonne and her husband Adrian decide to donate and support our mission in Monte Castillo Water Project. But they don't have the opportunity to travel, whether it be because of resources or time, to actually go to the community. They would like to, but they still want to feel that sense of connection with the people that they're donating to. Well, it's never been easier to do that. We do that through social media. We do that through email, through letters, through connecting the people in communities that we're serving with those that are donating, and making sure that we can bring our solutions to those people. We're creating an opportunity for people to feel like missionaries domestically, even though they're not going abroad to be one, which is really unique. And what's really unique about our missionary program is we believe in the power of prayer. And we do this in our prayer intentions, which we call our fountains of prayer. We have our fountains of prayer program where we have prayer intentions from the communities that we're working in that you all can pray for. You all can feel that sense of connection. They're not water and wastewater or sanitation or hygiene related necessarily. They're all sorts of needs. For instance, in community working in Peru, there's a woman and her husband that may be struggling with their marriage. Well, they ask that we pray for them. That's really cool that we can pray for our less fortunate brothers and sisters, specifically that specific need, and they're halfway around the world. Prayer is powerful. It's in Monte Castillo, Piura, Peru. So there's Peru in South America. It's on the west coast. There's a little zoomed in version of Peru. As you can see, the Andes Mountains run down the western coast of Peru. And then the region, or what they call department of Piura, is in the northwest there. And then we're zooming in on Piura. Actually, I need to go back to that. So, I don't think this has a laser. But to the left of Piura, it does. Switch up. Oh, look at that. That's nice. So, just to the west of Piura here is Monte Castillo. I could have gotten an aerial map and showed you, but it just looks like desert. It's semi-arid climate. This is their current situation. This is their story. I've told you our story. I've told you a little bit about how Vera Aqua Vera Vita came to be. This is their story. Currently, they have about 7,000 people in the community, about 1,400 households. 3,000 children. By 2027, they hope to be 15,000. 3,000 households and 6,000 children. You may be thinking to yourself, wow, this community is large. And yeah, it is. It is pretty large for a community that doesn't have water and wastewater solutions in place. Their primary economic activity is agriculture. Their average payment for water is about $3. Sorry, correction. Alberto corrected me on this recently. It's about $10 per month. And I forgot to update this slide. So they pay, on average, each family pays about $10 per month for their water. There is electricity available, but they do not have enough money to afford it regularly. So what does their water situation look like? Well, they're an arid to semi-arid climate with less than 10 inches of rain per year. Right now, the current 3 primary water sources are a cistern and trucked water system that comes to the community. It's supposed to come every day and go down one street in the community and fill everybody's buckets and containers with water. Sometimes it won't come for weeks. It's very irregular. If it doesn't come, then people turn to other sources. At one point, they had a groundwater well in place. Salt intrusion became an issue. The infrastructure is pretty dilapidated as well. The piping that was installed by the previous municipality agency that came in there is falling apart. Plus, they really couldn't afford it to run the system except for about every other day for 3 hours, which creates, from an engineering perspective, stagnation issues in the water pipelines, and then you get water age issues, and then you get biofilm growth on the pipe, and then all of a sudden you have bacteria in your water, even if it wasn't there at the source. So that's also an issue. And then their other source that they rely on, honestly, the most, because they've foregone the groundwater because of lack of trust in the source and the quality, but also the municipal organization that was in charge of managing the groundwater well was, how do we say, not handling the revenues that they were receiving from water payments as effectively as they could have. They were told by the community that we want you to repair the wastewater system that's collapsed. They have wastewater in the community that when they would get running water, they would flush their toilets and then would back up into the streets because the pipes were collapsed, not making it to the outfall at the treatment lagoons. And so the community, knowing that that's an issue, I mean, that's pretty obvious, it stinks, like it looks like poop on the surface. They decided, hey, we need you to do something, and they went to the organization that's in charge of the groundwater well and said, you need to start using our funds to fix this problem. And they were trying to do that, and they just weren't doing it well. And so the community said, okay, enough's enough, and they stopped using the groundwater well, stopped paying for that water. And so now they rely on the trucked water when it comes, but more regularly they rely on the irrigation canal, which is also their source of water for their farming purposes. The irrigation canal, however, looks like chocolate milk. It's in the bottom right corner there in the slide there in that photo. It's contaminated with heavy metals and bacteria. And they just go down. You can see in that picture there's a man down there in the irrigation canal just filling a bucket with water. That's what they're drinking.
What they're drinking is killing them.
Yep. So our two-phase solution. Our first phase is interim sustainable and scalable small water treatment facility, which will be in operation, God willing, by the end of this year. Our second phase is going to be comprehensive long-term sustainable infrastructure improvements. That means we're going to upgrade their pipes, we're going to upgrade their wastewater system, we're going to upgrade their treatment process so we can expand to a larger volume, and we're going to combine all of the sources together that we possibly can, because it is a semi-arid climate and even the irrigation canal is an irregular source. So the first phase, small water treatment facility, our source water is actually going to be the irrigation canal because it is the most highest volume source that we can rely on. We are working on permitting rights right now with the local agencies that manage the irrigation canal to get rights to use the water for drinking purposes. We'll have an intake structure with a pump that's going to pump it to a ground storage tank, which will also double. It's kind of hard to see in this slide, but which is also going to double as a settling basin for clarifying purposes for the water. There's also going to be alum injection. I'm getting a little technical here, but that'll help the water, help the particulates settle out of the water. There's also going to be excess storage. The reason why I highlight that is the irrigation canal comes from about 10 kilometers upstream, up in the mountains, or the edge of the mountains. And during low flow periods during the dry season, which is actually going on right now, December, January, and February, the irrigation canal will sometimes run almost dry. Because upstream, the managers of the irrigation canal will valve it off so that the water doesn't get overused. And so we have to be able to account for that with excess storage during those low flow periods. And so that tank is not to size. The tank is going to be far larger than that. We are working on sizing it right now. But I highlight that because that's really important. So, and then I also mentioned the next phase. So that from the tank, it's going to go to a treatment device, and treatment device is going to be housed with the pumps in a building. And that is actually what we are funding at Vera Aqua Vera Vita. We are funding the building. It's going to be about $20,000. And inside the building is going to be Water Mission, which is another nonprofit that we've actually partnered with that has a treatment technology they're bringing to the table called the Living Water Treatment System that they've developed and patented. That's going to be inside the system, inside the house. And that part of the project, plus the piping and all the pumps and the external tank, is all going to be funded by Rotary Club. Not this chapter, but two chapters. The Peoria chapter of the Miraflores Peoria chapter of Rotary Club, which is actually getting funding from a chapter in Florida. And that's going to be about $70,000 to $75,000. So we're funding about 20 to 25% of the project, and the other 75% is coming from the Rotary Club. So thank you all. Y'all are part of that bigger Rotary Club mission right there. So that's fantastic. And then we're also going to have a discharge pump from that. That's going to go to two water distribution points. We're going to have a tap at the source, i.e. at the facility. And then there's also going to be a trucked water system that's going to be in place. There's going to be a rate structure set up that manages the rates based on what the tap is, i.e. are they getting it from the tap at the building, or are they getting it from the trucked water system? If they're getting it from the trucked water system, the rates are going to be a little bit higher, and they may fluctuate a little bit just as at the tap, but just at a lower level. So those rates are going to help to fund, as you all know how water rates work, to fund maintenance and operation costs for the facility. And also excess funds are going to be put into a savings account, which we will use as future investment for the comprehensive Phase 2 water and wastewater infrastructure improvements, which we as Vera Aqua Vera Vita will actually be doing the engineering on. So right now in first phase, we're representing the community. We're client representation, right? The community is our client. We are program and project management. We brought all the partners to the table. So I'll highlight that next. So who are our partners? How did we get involved with this project? Well, we got involved through the mission center called Santissimo Sacramento, which is based out of Peoria. I had some friends that knew my passion about the global water crisis because I talk about it all the time. A lot of people call me the water guy in the circles that I run in because I love to talk about water and the global water crisis. Not just at work, but everywhere I go. So some of my friends knew this, and they went on this mission trip with St. Anne and Coppell to what?
Father Henry.
Yes, Father Henry, correct. Yes. They went to Piura with Santissimo Sacramento Mission Center based there, and they had an opportunity to go out into Monte Castillo and meet the people of Monte Castillo. People of Monte Castillo said, we need water. And for some reason, 2 years ago, when they said we need water, when they said we need water, they were like, oh, Jacob's the water guy. Let's talk to him. So 2 years later, we've started Vera Aqua Vera Vita, and we're working on a project in Peru. It's really cool. So as I also mentioned, our solution partner is also the Rotary Club, Miraflores Piura chapter, and Water Mission. So how can you get involved? 3 ways: time, talent, treasure. You can get involved, you can advocate for us, you can pray for us, you can pray for them. Pray for the people that we're serving. That's the most important. You can offer your talents, your skills. You can volunteer to advance our mission in some way. Right now we're looking for a couple key people. We're looking for an accountant on the business operations side of things. We're also looking for a development officer, somebody that can come on board and bring in fundraising for us. We are currently in the process of acquiring our 501c3. Our application is in, but we do not have our status yet, but we are incorporated in the state of Texas as a nonprofit. So you can donate too. You can donate your treasure, and you can fundraise for us. You can spread awareness. All donations are tax deductible. Right now we have a $4,000 match in place for our water project in Peru. You can also pray. Like I said, be a fountain of prayer. Be a fountain of prayer for the people we're serving, because we believe that prayer is powerful. Everything we do is, at Vera Aqua Vera Vita, ebbs and flows with the movement of prayer and the discernment of God's will. You can become a prayer warrior and be a solidarity with us and our brothers and sisters, which I have some business cards with me. After I get done, I'd love to come and talk with you. I'll be standing somewhere where I can interact with you. I can give you my card. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about how you can get involved. We have a couple revenue streams. We have our mission partners. We're looking for people to come on board. Right now we have our, should mention this real briefly, we have 2 revenue streams. We have our mission partners and we have our project partners. Our mission partners are those that support the business, administration, operation costs of Vera Aqua Vera Vita. We need people like that to come on board about $50 a month. We can get 60 people at $50 a month. We will cover our 2018 budgets and a pretty significant portion of our budget going forward. And then we have our second revenue stream, which is our project partners. 100% of whatever you give as a project partner goes to the projects we're working on. We believe our mission is first and foremost. And so by that I mean a lot of nonprofits, they collect money and they split their money based on their decisions internally. That's not how we're going to operate at Vera Aqua Vera Vita. We're going to operate in a way that if you want to support Monte Castillo and you want to be involved actively and you want to make sure all your money is going there, we can guarantee that it will, 100%. And that's going to encourage donations that will advance our mission and our project. So this is our ideal project funding structure: local NGOs, nonprofits, and missions, partnering with the community and Vera Aqua Vera Vita to the tune of a third, ideally. And this is also how we empower the people we're working with in these developing countries. They have a financial investment in the project. In closing, high and fine literature is wine. Mine is only water, but everybody likes water. Mark Twain. Together we can give true water, true life. Thank you all. Yeah, no question?
Yes, doesn't Jimmy Carter has something like
Sorry.
Jimmy Carter, he has something in Africa, he has an organization that they
I've not heard of the organization that Jimmy Carter has started, but I'll have to do some research.
Yes, and they in Africa, and they really about
I texted
Yeah, a lot of organizations build wells. I should also have mentioned too, there's a lot of organizations out there that have a very specific niche. whether it's well building or in the case of water mission, they're all about like small scale function. Is that they only work in communities that they can implement their niche solution in. So if there's not groundwater in a community, then an organization that does groundwater wells won't work in that community. They won't work to bring that community clean water. We believe that that's not the way we should approach it. We believe that we should approach each community with a solution that meets their needs, tailor fit to their specific situation.